way the travel journey is totally evolving, not only for hoteliers, but for our guests, and the way that we can better serve them. We've got a really unique lineup of perspectives. So really excited to have Nancy Wolff, who's the VP of Hotel Systems at Jumeirah Hotels and Resorts, to really give us an understanding of how a branded, especially luxury experience is seeing this evolution in the travel journey. We also have Svetozar Kujic, more from an independent perspective. So Svet leads the digital and community management at the Media One Hotel in Media City. And then lastly, we've got Charlie Osmond, who is the founder and CEO of a digital company called Triptease, who develop products for hotels to strengthen the relationships with their guests in order to help drive more bookings. My name is Alana Witte. I'm the director for Revinate's Middle East and Africa operation. Just to give you a little bit of background about Revinate and why I'm here, we're a software as a service technology company based in Silicon Valley with offices around the world. We work with about 24,000 hotels in 146 different companies, from, as you see, the independent hotels all the way up to the branded experiences. A little bit of a background as to what Revinate does. Our core focus is ultimately to help hotels drive and maximize revenue across the entire guest experience. We started 5 years ago with online reputation management, right? When that was totally ahead of the curve to be able to be engaging with what guests were saying. Now your guests are talking about you across hundreds of different channels and social media platforms, and it's really become a reactive necessary in the industry. So the way that we have evolved this is a building block solution for hotels. So building off of that ORM core experience to now move into a more proactive approach of actively soliciting guest feedback from your guests, doing more targeted and personalized marketing, and then ultimately starting to really create a dialogue directly with your guests with what they've got in their pocket, which is our new mobile engagement suite. And what's really fascinating is through all of these building blocks, hotels have a really unique position when they're engaging with their guests and when their guests are engaging with them to be able to glean some incredibly powerful insights that ultimately yield super rich guest profiles. So what do I mean by that? The sad reality today is hotels don't really know their guests. There is such an immense amount of data and information out there about each one of your prospective travelers, where they're sitting in their social spaces, how many followers they have, what their presence might be on travel review sites. And unfortunately, what guests or the hotels usually see is a much more blank kind of representation of who that guest is. The reality is when you can start to rely on technology and innovative initiatives that our panelists are going to be sharing with us today, you can start to really build a much more thorough understanding of who this guest is in order to serve up a more personalized, unique travel experience. So the focus of today's panel, and each one of our esteemed speakers are going to come up here, give a little bit more background as to what they do and what their particular role is in spearheading these tech initiatives within their organizations. We're going to really focus today's discussion around these three pillars. As we all know, this journey has changed immensely. With the evolution in technology, economics, and demographics, both on the guest side and the hotel side, it's materially changed the supply and demand. Guests have become much more egotistical, very demanding. I don't mean that in a negative way, but every guest is now really desiring a unique travel experience. So how do hotels serve this need while still making their shareholders happy? We're going to explore these topics throughout the different stages that the guests go through while they're traveling. So long gone is the notion that a guest hotel interaction is when they walk through the corridor and when they check out at the end. That relationship between the guests and hotels starts far before, as we'll hear from Charlie, and goes all the way during the guest experience on property. and then post-stay and how to start retaining that guest. There are, of course, immense challenges out there for hoteliers today. But to start with a little bit of positive news, revenue from international tourism is increasing 4% year on year, which, with more discretionary income for most travelers, means really, really awesome potential for hotels' bottom lines. Unfortunately, though, one of the inherent challenges for hotels is guest loyalty. With the growing strength of OTAs, their giant budgets, and their ability to offer travelers points and reward schemes, not across just your brand, but multiple brands, hoteliers are going to increasingly struggle with how to really encapsulate and grow that loyalty within their guests. As I alluded to before, the demanding guest as well, with 24/7 social media guests, oftentimes they find it easier to complain about the slowness of room service on Twitter than rather picking up the phone. So how, as a brand, do we manage that? And then ultimately personalizing this guest experience. And really fortunate to have Nancy from Jumeirah really focus on this, the personalization of the guest experience. In a world where Instagram filters and the never-ending Facebook timeline seems to show that every single one of your friends is in a beautiful hotel, there's never been a time where guests are craving this one-of-a-kind experience, and they feel like they already know what to expect when they walk into your hotel. So how do you still maintain that surprise and delight, ultimate serving of your guests? So to start us off, Nancy Wolff, who has been in the technology industry for over 20 years, 10 years in the hospitality industry. She really spearheads Jumeirah's dedication to enhancing both the guest and the colleague experience at the hotel. She works across the entire portfolio in really making sure this comes true to the Jumeirah tagline of Stay Different. So she's going to share with us today a couple of ideas and focuses that she and Jumeirah have had on mobilization and personalizing the guest experience.
Thank you. Thank you, Alana. I'll go ahead. Thank you for that great introduction and perfect segue into discussing some of the things that Jumeirah has been looking at regarding mobility and personalization. As all hoteliers in the room know, it's all about enhancing the guest experience in order to generate revenue. Specifically in this area, what I was going to discuss today is the fact that one of the things that Jumeirah has been looking very closely at, as with all of our brands, is the use of the functionality that we can provide our guests on their mobile device of choice. So related to that, it's kind of all of the crossroads have been coming together. For those of you who are familiar with Jumeirah, we have a dozen-year-old loyalty program called Sirius. So Sirius is actually relaunching its program on June 1st. We've increased the value proposition and made it much more attractive and more in line with the hospitality industry and offering benefits. As part of that, when we said, of course, we're going to provide the ability for not just our loyalty guests, but all of our guests to utilize their mobile phone through some type of mobile app, instead of just rolling out a mobile application that was just another application on your phone that required you to go and scroll and search and do whatever, it was not interactive. We intentionally decided to wait until we had some type of meaningful interaction with our guests. So for example, when I say meaningful interaction, we intend to roll out a mobile platform that would obviously be integrated with location-based technology. We're running a pilot right now at our Al Qasr Hotel here in Dubai, where we've installed beacon technology that would allow a loyalty member to be personally identified. So as Alana's slide reflected, all of these initiatives are great and everybody's working on many pieces and parts, but the heart of all of these initiatives being successful is knowing who the guest is and getting accurate guest data. So we've actually been doing a lot of groundwork, maybe not the fun, exciting stuff that you could do press releases about, but the things that say when you're a loyalty member and you walk into the Al Qasr lobby in Dubai, it would welcome you by name on your mobile phone. Of course, if you've opted in and given us, full rights to all of your, data privacy laws. So our intention is to utilize that guest information foundation to not only, of course, do enhanced marketing, enhanced revenue generation, but give you the ability to interact with you on your phone like you do with Facebook, like you do with Instagram, as opposed to what I call the olden days of just building a branded app that's just it's just a directory. So our intention is to give you the ability to not only be recognized, but then of course through programs such as a loyalty program, then use your phone to be able to increase your points balance through certain transactions at the hotels, and of course ultimately give additional functionality through mobile payments once that's made available in Dubai. And enhance your ability to be recognized, and of course get a more personalized service through that information. Thank you.
Nancy brings up a really great point that I recently just heard at the WTM Africa event when we were talking about mobile as well. The notion that every single hotel has to have a mobile app and has to develop it straight away is really very short-sighted. And the first question I think you have to ask yourself that Nancy mentioned is there a purpose? Do you have something to say? Is there a meaningful dialogue or reason that the guest is going to be using this application? They have got that app purgatory, right? Where for every 10 apps that a user downloads, 9 of them are opened once in 6 months. So we all know with the upfront investment capital that's required to develop these mobile apps, there better be a really, really powerful reason for it and something actually worthwhile for your guests to be using. So now moving on to an independent hotel's perspective, Kujic is going to share really about how Media One is jumping on social in a big way, and not just kind of in the stereotypical idea of social, which is let's do some tweets and respond to Facebook messages, but how they start to take the social information and actually operationalize it and grow their loyal guest base.
Right. Thanks, Alana. Basically, social and tech-inspired travel, definitely that is something that is important right now. And as an independent hotel, and as heading an online and digital part of the marketing, it's something that we're really looking closely at. What we have actually a chance is to be engaged in social in a much easier and effective way. As an independent hotel, we can actually build a personalized relationship with everybody who's actually engaging with us on social media. So I might say that we are there using different apps. We are 24 hours actually available on all the social media. We're replying in a quite a short time because we have the chance as an independent hotel to really be out there and engage with people on social. One of the things that is actually quite interesting when Alana invited me for this presentation is that we've been using Revinate, which is Alana's product, for a while, and I'm going to actually share some numbers from our side. We'll be using Triptease as well, which is again something that I think is going to be very interesting to see in the beginning stage as an independent hotel what we are actually doing. We've been talking about the future. I think it's happening right now. You hear the ATM. You're going to be listening to other discussions as well. It is about the mobile experience, where you'll be able to do everything on your mobile phone, which is including everything about pre-check-in, even booking your tickets in the same place, airplane tickets, flight transport, everything else. You will be able to choose your F&B and room preferences. So we are now in the mobile experiences. We are not talking about web anymore. Web, mobile, now everything is mobile. We are with the development of tech and wearable tech. We are moving into mobile concierge as well. I think that's the next step that we are also working as Media One. We are expecting about 180 million different devices, wearable tech devices by 2016. So there is a large potential again to be engaged with wearable techs. Biometrics, again, it's something that is coming, and I think it has to do a lot with the security and payments. We're going to see that in the next couple of years as well. What is actually quite interesting for us as an independent hotel, as a really social and vibrant place, it is about peer-to-peer dining now with different apps who are enabling you to actually engage with the guests inside of the hotel. and create your own little bit social network where you can actually engage with them, invite them for dinner, invite them for any event that's happening. There are already solutions out there, and we're looking into creating our own as well. So peer-to-peer dining, experiencing anything when it comes to lifestyle is actually really, really powerful, and it's coming quite soon. iBeacons, I think that they're going to be also quite interesting for us. And what we'll be able to do, again, track where all the guests are, and again, cater to them in a personalized way, and providing with the real profits, again, the things that they're looking for. And the final thing, I think, it's part of already product that exists, and Alana has been talking about it a little bit. Again, it's those rich social profiles. We haven't been using them, as definitely. And when I saw the in-guest a couple of months ago, I was really excited, because again, now with all the things that are being posted on social, we'll be able to use this and again cater and then make specific personalized requests from our guests. We'll be able to fulfill them basically. And again, I'm really excited, especially about the last part. And again, that technology already exists. What's actually for us interesting, being quite young, vibrant place, we are catering to young corporate, entrepreneurial businessmen between probably 25 to 35 years. This is exactly what we are looking for, and it is creating our own little social media portal, web portal. So everyone who is accessing our Wi-Fi will be able to access this social experience. They'll be able to engage with us personally. They'll have all the offers. Everything is happening at the Media One quite in an interactive way, low visuals, low videos. So we are we're not trying to create the Facebook of our own, but we have the need of creating a social media network inside of the hotel. And I think that's something as an independent hotel is quite interesting. We're also working on a mobile as well, mobile lifestyle app. That will be something that we're working on right now. We already have our blog running, and now we are actually trying to create different blogs on different platforms, which are covering some of the lifestyle components of our hotel. That it is probably the lifestyle probably events. One of the blogs will be organized around cooking and kitchen and F&B. One is going to be around showcasing basically what we've got at Media One. Currently, we have Foursquare. We're using Foursquare to present cooking tips. Pinterest, we're already using it quite extensively for posting food recipes and basically pictures and presenting what we've got at Media One. Next, I think technology is actually quite interesting is the Tint. I'm not going to talk about it too much, but it's basically a social media aggregator, and we'll be having our own social TV channel in our rooms as well. So when you turn on your TV, you'll be able to read either our tweets and everything that is happening, or a Facebook post or anything that is happening out there, again, catered to specific interests of everyone else. We already started using Meerkat app for live streaming because we have quite a lot of events and things happening in Media One. So we want to use the technology and use these apps to actually feature them. And again, live streaming, I think that's something that is going to be quite interesting. We also already have a service Tweet to Book. We've been providing this for a couple of months already. It's been going quite interesting. We have our own interactive career portal, and in pipeline in the future is definitely keyless entry and tablet pre-check-in and different things like that. So we're already running I would say 80% of all these platforms, and I'm going to present only two, which is probably again Revinate and Triptease. And this is the vibrant promise that we are giving to our guests, providing seamless, personalized, and unique experience for the right customer at any given time for the price that matches the value or he or she receives. Coming back to Revinate, we've been running it since July 2014. We're running it post-stay surveys, so whoever checks out, they get the post-stay survey. We're using the guest feedback suite and ORM as well, definitely. Our goal in the next couple of months is to move to in-guest, and they have used those social and rich media profiles, and again, increase also to on-site surveys as well. I'm going to show you a little bit of the numbers, what we've done so far. So it's not even a full year so far. We have increased the number of views by 50%, which is probably about 160% of all of our goals that we actually put. down, 6% increase in positive reviews, and 88% is average number of recommendations that we've received. If you compare quarter one in 2015 and quarter four of 2014, there is 26% increase. Our review ratings actually increased from 3.68 to 3.85. And again, we increased also the detailed things such as cleanliness, rooms, all the things that people are talking about. You can see these increase of positive reviews happening. If you want even deeper when it comes to sentiment analysis, which is Revinate is providing us with, we can actually see that increase in all the different aspects, such as general staff attitude, surrounding area, staff quality, staff helpfulness. You can see all these things increasing. And again, finally, number of reviews is being increased. And I think probably the most substantial one is between 2013 2014. You can see almost the double number of 5-star reviews that were just done solely using, again, Revinate and then and everything else. We also increased our number of responses. In 2013, responses to all the reviews on TripAdvisor and everything else happening out there. So from 60%, we increased to 93%. And right now, we are about 100%. So we are practically responding to every review that is being posted anywhere on the internet. Triptease. How are sales? I don't have the numbers now. I'll definitely come to that. It's basically, I would say that I'm probably going to have some questions regarding how we actually transfer the OTAs and everything. So I'm going to talk a little bit about sales, definitely. Coming back to Triptease, it's basically a digital postcard service. So whoever checks out gets an invite. They create a digital postcard, they upload their photo, and they can share it with their friends. And it's used to drive direct bookings. So basically, when you share a digital postcard with your friends, they'll be able to have some kind of a discount of their next stay or something in F&B. So there is that engagement that's happening with Triptease as well. We'll be running it for 6 months for now. We haven't seen results. Again, to be honest, we had only created 15 postcards. There's a lot of referrals, a lot of emails sent, but we are again still trying to increase this and work more with Triptease. These are some of the examples of the things how the postcards look like. So when you check out, you create, these are the pictures that they're using from our library. You can leave your comment. And again, when you share it on Facebook or through email, your friends, whoever sees that postcard, they will be prompted to come back, click on the link. And if they depends on the offer, it's usually 15% of direct booking or something. So there is encouragement of actually driving the sales through this type of thing. We haven't seen, again, results. We'll be running only for 6 months. Hopefully, we'll have results in soon.
Thanks so much, Svet. And we'll definitely, I think it's a great question, how are sales? We talk about all these wonderful statistics in terms of reputation and rating. The industry leaders, whether it's Cornell University, Harvard Business School, there's been countless direct reports and correlations that show, for example, that a 1-point increase in your average rating means the guest likelihood of booking increases by 14.6%. I'm sure Svet can get back to us with some actual bookings and revenue generation from that, how that compares year to year. I can give you an anecdote from a 3-star hotel that I just spoke with the GM two weeks ago after they started more proactively managing the reviews that were out there. They actually moved from number 15 to number 4 in the TripAdvisor popularity index within the first 2 months. But after 12 months, I just wanted to know, what did that mean in terms of his sales? They were able to increase their rates by 15% without losing any occupancy. So, of course, that's just a one independent hotel anecdote. I'm sure it differs from independent hotel to different star class to brand, but it's definitely something that we've seen these correlations with across the board. So now moving on to revenue and OTAs and the hotel's bottom line of bookings, Charlie Osmond is the founder and CEO of Triptease. He's going to be sharing a little bit with us today about what they do and what's this challenge of OTAs and grappling for direct bookings. Charlie was awarded the Entrepreneur of the Year award by Esquire magazine a couple years ago, so I'm really excited to hear what he has to share with us today.
Hi, hello. I'll make sure I talk about numbers. So yeah, as a brief introduction. It said I was founder, which isn't the right title. I'm the chief Tease at Triptease. I'm quite proud of my title. As well as that, I'm on the advisory board at British Airways, where I chair the advisory committee, particularly on personalisation and all things digital. So I can also add some flavour later in the conversation around some of that stuff. Okay, so the goal of Triptease is to help hotels drive direct bookings, to shift bookers back onto the direct web channel. And we just launched a new product a couple of months ago with a specific focus on one part of the consumer journey, the area where we felt was the greatest opportunity to shift people to booking direct. And really, it was led by this insight. The main reason, by a long way, that somebody who is on a hotel booking engine leaves and goes to book on an OTA is because they believe their perception is that it'll probably be cheaper if I go to Expedia. It'll probably be cheaper if I go to Booking.com. And that's a perception that we all understand because it's born out of 10 years of a world in which that often was the case. But now, with hotels' revenue management taking center stage, parity is much more often, in fact, the case. So what hotels need to do is actually try and convince people when they're on the site, there is no need to go off and check the prices elsewhere because this is as good as it gets. And so the way we do that is a really simple widget which sits on the hotel's booking engine and displays 3 live prices from OTAs. It gives consumers the confidence they need that they don't need to go and research elsewhere, and neatly, usefully increases direct bookings. So very briefly, to kind of see it in situ, there it is on a rooms and rates page. After the page loads, out it pops and gives people this confidence. And sorry, and I feel very bad. I didn't want to make this a sales pitch, but I guess really what I wanted to focus on was just this sense that I think 2015 is the year when hotels are taking back control and really coming out fighting at the OTAs. This is the kind of thing which, as we've spoken to hotels, especially the large groups about, almost every one of them said, this isn't a new idea. We've been talking about this internally for 5 or more years. We just didn't know how to do it, and we weren't sure it was the right time. But this year, it feels like, well, we've just got to. It's time we fight back. We've got to drive more direct bookings because not only is it costing us a lot in commission, but in many ways, more importantly, more strategically, it's losing that direct relationship with the consumer in a digital environment. And the disadvantages of that are pretty catastrophic in the long run. Anyway, as I said, out it pops, you see the live prices. Some of you might be wondering, but wait, I don't want on my hotel site a link to an OTA. And just to be clear, it doesn't link anywhere. If somebody were to click anywhere on there, they get a little message about the price that, this is a live rate just being gathered, and we, the hotel, would prefer you to book direct. So this is just one, I guess, a personal example of the kind of things hotels are doing. I think the other activities that we're seeing more and more, so there are some cutting-edge booking engines out there like Avio, who I think was speaking earlier today, where they're doing a lot more sort of urgency messaging, the kind of thing we've seen on the OTAs for a few years. We're starting to see the hotels do as well, with the knowledge that it's time to fight back. It's time to take this challenge back to the OTAs. Now, numbers. So we've had 3 hotel groups go live in the last 2 months. We've just recently gone live. The results have been an increase in conversion. One of them in A/B test was 47%, the other was 62%, and this one's been over 100. It works. It's the number one reason, as I say, why people leave a hotel. So it's really simple and effective. And that's the end of me. And
Perfect. And I think Charlie really hit on a key point there. I think from speaking to a lot of general managers and a lot of executive management of brands, sometimes they're complacent and happy with that first booking through an OTA. They realize that maybe they weren't going to capture that guest personally anyway, so they're okay with paying the 20 to 30% commission to Booking.com or Holiday Check or whatever it might be. The real kind of heartache I think that happens is when you're now paying that commission over and over and over again when that guest goes back they love their stay at Alcázar, but they keep on booking through Booking.com. Not only are you losing that personal touch and the relationship, as Charlie mentioned about, but you certainly shouldn't have to be paying that OTA that same commission over and over again. So now we're going to, we'll certainly get to questions from the audience. We've got a couple of questions for our panelists. through those different stages of the travel journey, both pre, during, and post-stay, that we can hopefully surface some salient insights on what your hotels can do to better monetize the guest stay and also to better serve your guests. So Nancy was speaking about personalization and being able to really make that guest experience fantastic when they're on property. Jumeirah's properties, like I think a lot of the hotels in Dubai, have several, if not dozens, of F&B outlets and spas. And how do you what can you do, whether it's pre-stay or while that guest is on site, to help that guest spend more money while they're on property?
Hello? Hi. Okay, so I'm going to sound like a broken record here, but for us, again, it all starts with the guest data. So what we are trying to do is the more robust our guest profiles become, then obviously the more tailored our marketing efforts, both off-property and on-property, can become. So we do have a more longer-term strategy that would incorporate not only their behaviors on the website, for example, but first and foremost, we're trying to understand their behaviors on site. And then once we know that, then of course we have marketing systems in place by which can tailor more specifically to that. Obviously, for example, if you use the spa, then we will capture that data and funnel it to our marketing efforts, that we would give you a room spa package, for example. And then same thing with the restaurants. So it really is all about the data, and what I call almost like our longer term goal is to have a self-learning system by which not only does it learn what the guest is actually doing, the behavior that they're having physically at the property, but then with one-to-one marketing capabilities that we have now, we would also understand if, just because they visited the spa and then we sent them a marketing message saying, come back and visit the spa, did they actually bite on that? And then let's learn from that as well. So that's kind of like a 360 approach that what we're trying to do. And of course, but it all starts with capturing the information and then categorizing it and then following through on the marketing campaign.
Yeah, I think that self-learning is really important, right? There isn't one size fits all answer, especially for all the different hotels that are out there. And it is a bit of a guessing game, right? And it's fantastic if you're trying all these different initiatives, but there does need to be some sort of checks and balances to make sure that all of these initiatives are actually providing hard ROI and results. I'm not sure, Charlie or Svet, maybe one of you can talk about this, but there's a lot of talk around getting it right for the guests, especially how do you do this when those guests are coming through OTAs and you literally don't know anything about them?
I think we can both. Okay. But having these, again, rich social profiles enabled, I think we are able to see who's actually coming in. What we usually do, whoever is checking in from the OTA, we usually provide them with their own yellow card, what we call them, which is again enabling them to have discounts and different things. Doing the post-stay surveys, we actually can learn what people are thinking about us, and then we can cater for their next stay. We can always adjust to whatever they're looking, and especially again using the social media, we can create this awareness. We can see who is actually being engaged with us, and like having this Twitter service enabled all the time. Basically, 24 hours, we are again able to learn what people are exactly wanting. Using different platforms such as Triptease as through digital postcards, we can see what kind of things people are sharing, what kind of things people are looking for. So it's about listening game. There's quite a lot of listening and looking what is happening out there, and again reacting in a specific time. But again, for us, whoever is coming from OTA as an independent hotel, we have a chance to actually engage with them personally. So whoever is checking with OTA, they get a pre-stay email. We engage them on site. And then after they stay, they have this post-stage. So we kind of have this learning process of before they check in, during their stay, and then after they check out. We can actually learn quite a lot about their behavior and what exactly is happening, and can definitely convert them using different means, such as again providing them with a discount card for the direct booking for the next day, and again engagement. We have that opportunity as an independent hotel. We can actually engage with everyone who is coming through that personalized email connection, or either a post-it survey or a tweet or anything happening on social. We have that advantage.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'll just, can you hear me? Yeah. I had one thing onto that, which is, I think that mindset of just wanting to learn and wanting to improve is actually beats everything. So one of our previous products, we would tie into a PMS, and every week we would just send, just automatically to clients, here's the proportion of guests who checked in, whose emails you captured. It was like a free service. We just did it for fun to see what would happen. I would say 60-70% of hoteliers who got it, because we then looked, 2 months later, had the number gone up. 60-70% of the time, the number had kind of stayed pretty similar. They probably just deleted our emails that we were sending them. But there were like 20% of hotels where they quite clearly, and then they fed back to us as well, because they were getting this email every week, they then sent it around as part of a management report. And as a result, they then went to the front desk and said, this is now a number we're tracking. And because it was a number they were tracking, they were getting more data. And because they were getting more data, they were having conversations about, and how else are we going to market these people and how are we going to improve our CRM? So I think it's just it's having a will and a desire to just like constantly, where can we get extra data? Is it having a loyalty program? Is it from social profiles? And how can we feed that and how can we improve?
Great, thanks. Nancy, I just have one more question for you. You mentioned you were piloting an iBeacon property for the loyalty for the Sirius scheme at Alcázar. Are you doing anything with the iBeacons in terms of cross-selling or promotional selling within the properties? So
that's the intention. We're not actively doing it right now because we're trying to be a little hypersensitive about the guest. So that's definitely in the plan, but it's not going to be a pure marketing play. Like, okay, just because you walked past the steakhouse restaurant, please come and eat in the steakhouse. It's going to be, we want to do it in a combination of with your preferences, and then maybe, of course, intelligently, maybe what you've already done at the property and what you've already experienced. So, short answer, yes, absolutely. The promotion could come up or the notification would come up that says, oh, you're heading to the pool. Can we send you a cocktail?
Right.
So it's not, so yes, it's marketing, but hopefully
Subtly.
It's more personalized marketing than just come 2 for 1.
Right.
Yeah.
And what has been, I guess it's early days, right, with the iBeacon, but what has been kind of guests' reaction anecdotally to being greeted, hey, Alana, Sirius Silver member, what are they?
Well, typically, again, we're still in the pilot phase, and usually it's, the reception is positive, obviously, and one of the things that we're developing right now is making sure it's very simple for the guests to be able to turn that off, right? Because then there's the whole mentality of, well, sometimes it bothers me and sometimes it doesn't. But it's generally positive because it's kind of what they're used to doing. They're used to getting these notifications on their phones, so it's very positive. But we now want to make it very easy for them to be able to manage their preferences and communications.
Right. I think that's a real key takeaway. There's a fine line between caring and creepy, right?
Yeah, and we try to tend on not the creepy side. Right. But the whole, I think I've heard stories, and I'm sure you all have, about, seeing someone post a preference for a drink, and then, on their Facebook page, and then somebody at a hotel offering them the drink. And so we're not gonna do all that per se, but it's
right. Oh, great, thanks. I think we just have a couple minutes for questions from the audience. Yes, please. Sorry, she'll come with a microphone to you. Thank you.
Yeah, Charlie, are there any price parity issues in the way you are showing comparative prices? And secondly, how is it different? I could just open another tab and search on TripAdvisor. So how is it different from that?
No, absolutely. So the first one first. So what happens if the price that you're showing direct is more expensive than the OTA price, and now suddenly on your website you are advertising that fact, right? So very good question. So what we actually do is we try and turn it into a positive thing for the guest. Congratulations, the price. It turns out there's a cheaper price on Expedia. It's 4% less. We will give you a rate code that gives you a 5% discount, or call this number, we'll give you a discount and we'll give you an upgrade. And what we found is that even when it's a cheaper price on the OTA, in the majority of cases, we're still getting higher level of bookings direct. Because if it's $3, $4 cheaper, people, and that's what most of the disparity tends to be, people are actually still saying, well, at least I know there's not much in it, I'll book. Does that answer the parity question? No. Okay, you were trying to get something else.
Price parity refers to a contract.
Oh, yeah,
probably,
yeah.
You can't show, hoteliers can't show, a lower price compared to travel agents.
Yep.
Otherwise, they would be actually sort of running into the contract with OTAs.
Sorry, I misunderstood your question. So the vast majority of price checks we display show the same price at the hotel as at the OTAs because they have parity. So all we're showing people is that the price here direct is the same as the price of the OTA in most cases. And that increases, like we've not had any hotel not increase by 35%. So people believe the OTAs are cheaper. So when you say the OTA isn't cheaper, they don't bother leaving. Does that make sense? So we're not breaking parity. We're sticking with parity in most cases and saying the price direct is the same. But that's enough information for consumers to know that it's not worth going elsewhere.
Okay,
Is that, yeah. You don't actually have to be cheaper to get the booking. You just have to make them not believe that someone else is cheaper. That's all. Sorry, it took me a while to explain. So the other question was, now that's gone. Why don't I go and do it elsewhere?
Yeah, no, I just open another tab and I search on TripAdvisor.
Yeah.
I get all the information.
You absolutely can, and that's the last thing as a hotel you want anyone to do. Because the second you go into TripAdvisor, that's it. Boom, you've lost them off the direct site. They're in TripAdvisor. They might book with you via an OTA. They might book with you, maybe direct, but they might book somewhere else completely. As soon as you let them, as soon as they disappear, you've got suddenly a tiny, tiny chance of ever getting them back.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Something we've noticed from Revinate's side as well, not with the rate, but with the reviews.
Yeah.
It's the kiss of death, right? When somebody goes onto Booking.com or TripAdvisor, you want to know what the guy who stayed 3 days ago said about it, and so that's why you go there. A group like Four Seasons, for example, they started to use one of our widgets called Social Buzz, which basically is similar to what Charlie's doing with the rates, but where it allows the hotel to publish recent reviews directly onto their website. They found that once they started putting reviews directly on the website, they sent 39% less traffic to unprofitable OTAs. So whether it's the rates, whether it's the reviews, doing everything that your hotel can to make that website sticky to help drive more direct bookings is the name of the game, for sure. I think we have time for maybe one more question. Yes?
Hi. Just a quick one. You talk about obviously moving things away from OTA bookings and trying to pull things in directly. How much fear do you think there is in the industry still of for example, on one side of the equation, pulling back completely, and the other side maybe drawing out those commissions you're paying or diverting the value of those commissions into other areas? Do you think there's still a lot of fear there? Or
I just want to make sure I understand the question. Sorry, fear that the commissions are going up? Or
no, ignore the pure fear of moving away from relying on large OTAs and actually moving those or the value of those commissions into other areas, like obviously what you do yourself or other ways of trying to drive more bookings, whether it's investment in the website infrastructure to make it more sticky, for example, content licensing to keep people away from the likes of TripAdvisor and keep people on the site.
Yeah. So people are people scared to take the necessary moves to reduce their reliance on OTAs?
Yeah.
I think they are, yeah. But then thankfully there are so many case studies out there, and it's so easy to call other hotels that are doing things and ask them, is this working? Is this worth the risk? And people like us, sadly, too often, vendors get their arms twisted to give free trials, which helps reduce people's fear. I think actually what we've seen is just, and maybe this is particularly the larger brands, the fear they have, and I don't want to overstate it. OTAs are here to stay. OTAs provide a great service. There's a lot of value add. It's just you want to make sure that balances and doesn't go too far away. And I think right now hotels are worried that it's just going in one direction, and they're going to then, 95% of bookings might come through OTAs. The big brands are worried they get disintermediated, and all of a sudden there's no need for the big brand flag. You'll have a Booking.com hotel because who needs a brand flag when you can read reviews, when you can get the prices? There's a big risk of that. So I think there's enough fear from the other camp that makes people want to try things.
Nancy, what's how does Jumeirah balance?
Yeah, so I told.
I think.
Yeah, I said something to Charlie earlier because, again, of course, yes, we know all OTAs are here. They're here to stay. I just call it using them effectively. I don't think that, I know in Jumeirah's case, there's so much opportunity to drive direct bookings that it's not. We have so much room for improvement that there's no impact it's going to have on the OTAs. They're still going to make just as much money as they would, and from a guest experience perspective, I think there's so much value that can be provided. I'm starting with loyalty just because it's a known customer base, but we want to recognize you personally on the website. So we're envisioning providing capabilities not just from a points perspective, but not only, yes, you should have a comfort in knowing that the rate is the same, and you should have comfort of being able to read the reviews without leaving the website. But how about not keeping my personal preferences, having my historical stays, saying, hey, would you like the same type of room? So those are all of the things that the OTA sites can't do per se. I mean, they can obviously keep your trip history and those types of things, but the things that are the intellectual property that Jumeirah has on that guest is we're going to utilize that to kind of keep you and keep you coming back. And then, of course, we can get into more incentives and packages and things like that. So from my perspective, there's no fear that they're going away, and there's no fear that we're going to be taken over. It's because there's so much room for improvement.
It's so true. We have the luxury of seeing kind of the distribution of reviews across all the different OTA sites, and for the Middle East region, it's astronomical, the pieces of the pie that are coming from OTAs, especially versus the rest of the world. So I think that is probably the short answer to it. There's such an awesome area for room for improvement that I think the fear is pretty nominal when compared to that. Do we have time for one more? Okay, I think he's got a question. Back there in the green shirt.
Hello, and good job for Triptease. By the way, but isn't it Triptease only operational if from the first place you went to that hotel website? But usually people, maybe if they're going somewhere, they'll be searching on Google for a certain hotel, and usually Booking.com will take the Google ads always. So you click on it and you reach it. For this to work effectively, you need to be on the hotel website, which is a bit rare, I guess. Usually, not all people knows how to reach the hotel website. They search hotel in Dubai, Jumeirah, let's say. They will get Booking.com before Jumeirah. So
clearly there are many different segments in online travel, and like targeting loyal guests is different from targeting new ones. The research we've seen from a number of different groups is that 2/3 of guests look at the hotel's website before booking on an OTA. So OTA guests will have looked at the hotel website most of the time. Now that's not the same if you're doing city bookings. If you're a business traveler, you're less likely. But if you're a leisure traveler, you want to see more photos, you want to read more information. So I think there is an opportunity when people are on the hotel site. But you're right, not for everyone. And that's why there's many different things that I think hotels need to do and are doing to target different guests in different ways.
And just on your point about the city search, like Dubai plus hotel recommendations, I heard a really staggering statistic the other day. In the past 5 years, that direct search on Google, Dubai plus hotels, is down 70%. People are asking for advice in cities and recommendations, but they're doing it a lot more on their social channels, or they're looking at hashtag Dubai on Instagram, hashtag hotels Dubai. The traditional form of search, it was astounding that particular kind of quoted search is down such a large percentage. Great. Well, I'm real appreciative to all of our amazing panelists who joined us today. I'm sure you'll all give a big round of applause for joining us. And thanks so much to the audience as well. And we'll all be up here for a couple questions if you have any afterwards.